With the aim of making the world cleaner, efforts to advance it are hydrogen-fueled cars and electric cars. Both cars produce zero harmful emissions on the road. Unlike electric cars, which take a fair amount of time to recharge, hydrogen cars can be refilled about as quickly as a petrol or diesel car. But does this mean they're not polluting? Welcome to Evolutionary. Stay tuned as we will explain all the facts you should know about hydrogen and electric cars. Which is better for the sake of our environment? First, it is important to understand how each technology operates in order to compare the two types of vehicles. The base of hydrogen-powered vehicles are fuel cells. Consider them the maestro of all the internal mechanisms that give the car its power to move. A fuel cell in a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle is fed by a hydrogen tank with high-pressure hydrogen gas that will mix with oxygen. With no harmful exhaust emissions, the car is then propelled by an electric motor that is powered by this electricity. Good news is, the only byproduct of the entire process is heat and water, which are produced when hydrogen and oxygen atoms come together to create water molecules. Electric cars, on the other hand, are propelled by motors that draw power from rechargeable batteries or other portable electricity sources. No chemical reaction occurs once they are moving. Instead, the power the batteries receive during charging causes an electric reaction. But which is more reliable and friendly to the environment? Vehicles powered by hydrogen or electricity. Before making any judgments, let's take a look at the most important characteristics of each type of car. Hyundai Nexo, a hydrogen-powered vehicle, has a range of about 330 miles or 550 kilometers, which is comparable to the best electric Tesla Model S. However, it's challenging to estimate these cars' driving ranges precisely. It depends on a variety of factors, including the type of vehicle being driven, how many people are in the car, whether the air conditioning is on or off, whether the automobile is on a high road or is snarled in traffic in the city center, and more. Because each person's unique combination of all these elements is distinct, various people have been reporting varied experiences. However, because hydrogen vehicles pack their energy storage tightly, they can typically travel farther. According to Automotive Technologies, hydrogen-powered vehicles may travel up to 300 miles on a single charge, compared to the typical 100 to 200 miles for fully electric vehicles. Much more fascinating is how long it takes to pump hydrogen into the tank. Similar to any gasoline-powered car, it takes 5 to 10 minutes. While Tesla's 120 kilowatt fast chargers can charge batteries to 80% capacity in 30 minutes, the BMW i3 or Nissan Leaf may require 4 or 8 hours to reach full capacity. In the end, the charging station and the type of charging connector clearly affect how long it takes an electric automobile to charge. Whatever the combination though, and even with Tesla's newest V3 supercharger, this is unquestionably a victory for the hydrogen vehicle. While the use of fuel directly in the car does not emit carbon dioxide, the manufacturing of batteries and the production of electricity both contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. According to Yang Xiaohorn, professor at MIT departments, producing lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles requires more materials than producing conventional combustion engines, and the need for battery materials is growing. The majority of lithium is now produced from hard rock mines or underground brine reservoirs, and a large portion of the energy required for its extraction and processing originates from CO2-emitting fossil fuels. Particularly in hard rock mining, 15 tons of CO2 are released into the atmosphere for every ton of lithium produced. Other costs are associated with battery materials. Lithium, cobalt, and nickel are examples of raw materials that need labor-intensive mining processes, large amounts of chemicals and water, and have the potential for contamination and toxic waste. 60% of the world's cobalt is produced in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where concerns about issues like child labor persist. According to Xiaohorn, the environmental impact of manufacturing these batteries also increases. It takes heat between 800 and 1000 degrees Celsius to synthesize the materials required for production. This temperature can only be attained economically by burning fossil fuels, which again increases CO2 emissions. Exactly how much CO2 is emitted in the long process of making a battery can vary a lot depending on which materials are used, how they're sourced, and what energy sources are used in manufacturing. The vast majority of lithium-ion batteries, which accounts for about 77% of the world's supply, are manufactured in China, where coal is the primary energy source. And coal emits roughly twice the amount of greenhouse gases as natural gas. For illustration, the Tesla Model 3 holds an 80 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery. CO2 emissions for manufacturing that battery would range between 2,400 kilograms and 16,000 kilograms. Just how much is 1 ton of CO2? As much as a typical gas-powered car emits in about 2,500 miles of driving, just about the same weight as a great white shark. Electric cars generate approximately 17 kilograms of carbon dioxide per 100 miles traveled. Now let's talk about hydrogen cars. Although hydrogen is the most common element in the universe, it doesn't exist in its pure form in the blue planet. This means that if we wish to use it as fuel for our cars, we need to produce it out of other compounds like water, natural gas, or other fossil fuels or biomass. And for this, energy needs to be used. Environmental and economic costs enter the equation. On one hand, to get hydrogen in a clean way is by reversing the electrolysis process of water. The problem is that this process of separating water molecules to get the hydrogen spends a high amount of energy, making it a very expensive process. However, if this energy is able to come from renewable energy sources like the sun or the wind, the net energy cycle can get very carbon low and the process turns more environmentally friendly. Yet, another situation is the efficiency of the process that's only 75% efficient and allows for 25% of electricity losses. This is why most hydrogen fuel is obtained by the process of methane reforming, which is less expensive than electrolysis. It is around 75% efficient, but produces 9 to 12 kilograms of carbon dioxide for every 1 kilogram of hydrogen. The downside is that harmful byproducts such as carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide are produced in the process. Furthermore, and although they're becoming less frequent, methane leaks through pipelines while extracting natural gas are not convincing. These molecules are 86 times worse than CO2 released into the atmosphere. Even if the methane cracking process is improved, it isn't likely to be a long-term solution. Researchers across the globe are trying to design new manufacturing processes or new battery chemistries that can work with more readily available, environmentally friendly materials, but these technologies aren't yet available on a wide scale. If we don't change how we make materials, how we make chemicals, how we manufacture, everything will essentially stay the same, Schauhorn says. On the other hand, new methods of producing hydrogen are being developed, such as the proton exchange membrane, which, according to scientists, might get to an 86% efficiency. Until that happens, we need to wait and see, because the fact that hydrogen cars mean using energy twice, to make hydrogen and then using it to power vehicles, while electric cars can use the energy from the grid straight away, is a strong argument in favor of electric cars. All because after converting electricity into hydrogen and back to electricity might involve energy losses up to 45%, making it a not very efficient process. Using the extra energy supply for hydrogen production and creating some hybrid version of hydrogen lithium-ion cars can also be something. Once more studies come out clarifying whether this surplus energy is more efficient to use in dams or producing hydrogen. As for today, electric cars are a more accessible vehicle. They include more efficient processes compared to hydrogen-powered cars, and if their lithium batteries are reused to meet different ends, they're likely to stay a more sustainable solution, at least over the next few years. All being said, hydrogen cars and electric cars both offer viable alternatives to traditional gasoline-powered vehicles in the pursuit of more sustainable transportation. While electric cars currently enjoy greater availability, lower costs, and more established charging infrastructure, hydrogen cars have the advantage of longer driving ranges and faster refueling times. As technology progresses and infrastructure develops, the competition between hydrogen and electric cars will continue to evolve, ultimately benefiting consumers and the environment alike. Which one do you think is better? Hydrogen cars or electric cars? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to get news on EVs weekly.